Hey guys, how you going? So today on BKRsport, we are here at the end of the AFL season. This is the final week before we get into the finals, baby, and it's very exciting. It's 100% exciting. You know why? Because no one actually thought we'd actually get to this stage at one point this year. There was a time when people thought, oh, the AFL's done with, oh no, guess who said that? Bloody damn well me. You know, there's a lot of people who came out thinking that this season wouldn't actually complete, and right now, it's looking like it's damn well going to be completing. So you've really got to commend the AFL for that, and you've really got to commend how this season has still gone, guys. But obviously, we are in round 18, and there is still a couple of teams that can make the top 8. It's not over yet. The Wooden Spoon's not decided yet. The top 8's not decided yet. Even the minor premiership still has a chance of not being decided yet. So, you know, it's pretty crazy that we're getting to this stage and a lot of things can still happen. So let's get straight into talking about round number 18 of the AFL. First up, guys, we have the North Melbourne Kangaroos going up against the West Coast Eagles. Now, this is actually a little bit more of an interesting clash than you would actually immediately imagine. Now, obviously, West Coast are the favourites here, and really, they should be winning this game. Like, really, they should just simply be winning this game. It shouldn't really be interesting in the slightest. North Melbourne are absolutely terrible this year. They're 17th. They've had a lot of injuries, like really, seriously, a lot of key injuries to their team. But in the same sense, everyone has had key injuries to their team, you know what I mean? Everyone has had some serious trouble. So you can't really complain too much when everyone else is experiencing the exact same as you. However, the reason why I say this could be quite interesting is because, you know, West Coast is still playing for a top 4 spot. They would obviously need to rely on Richmond losing and also Geelong losing, and Richmond play the Adelaide Crows, which will be an interesting game as well, and Geelong obviously play the Swans. So, you know, it's not in West Coast's hands to make a top 4, but, you know, what is in their hands is getting a win here and putting themselves at least in the discussion point for it. So they go up against North Melbourne here, who also actually have something playing for themselves, even though they're down to 17th. Right now, they're bloody way low. Hold on, wait, Adelaide Crows, wait, 3-4 weeks ago. The Crows 3-4 weeks ago, the Kangaroos were like, wait, no, we've had a shit season, but at least the Crows came last. At least we didn't come last. You know what I mean? At least we've had a shotgun season, but at least we get the wooden spoon. That was 3-4 weeks ago when the Crows hadn't won a single game, and now the Crows, they've gone 3 in a row. They're 3 in a row. If they win this week against Richmond, they're probably going to avoid the spoon. So the North Melbourne Kangaroos actually have something to play for here. If they get this win here, then they will completely avoid the spoon. Yes, it will be a shithouse season, but they will avoid the spoon. So there is a lot to play for here. But I am going to take West Coast Eagles. I'm going to take them by about 20 points. Now, I say this a lot, guys, on my stream. So I stream every single day. If you don't know this, guys, we do AFL, NRL, American sports, English Premier League, all that type of stuff. So subscribe if you're new around here. I say all the time on my streams, West Coast Eagles, you know, they're a really good team at home. And if this grand final was at Optus Stadium, I would be taking the West Coast Eagles this year to win it all. I would 100% be taking the West Coast Eagles to win it all, easy days. But it's not at Optus, it's at the Gabba. So I really don't rate West Coast when they're not playing at home. When they're at home, they're a pretty good team. When they're at home, they're a really good team. When they're away from home, they just aren't. And they haven't shown anything convincing since coming back. They've lost a couple of games, they've won a couple of games, but nothing's really been convincing. And don't tell me that 15-point win over St Kilda, who haven't been convincing since they lost by 60 points to Geelong, is anything convincing. So for me, I'm going to take West Coast. I'm going to take them by about 22 points. If North Melbourne do show up, then, you know, fantastic. But really, West Coast shouldn't be losing this game, especially considering that they do consider themselves as premiership hotshots. They do consider themselves as a part of that kind of premiership equation. Not that I think it's going to happen, but, you know, if they're going to do it, then they have to win this game. So good luck to you, West Coast. Friday night action, St Kilda versus GWS. Now, this is a really, really big game for completely different reasons. So, you know, we were at the top of the table just there, we're at the bottom of the table just there, and now we're right bang in the middle. GWS Giants have a chance to make the top 8. Now, they do need to rely on a couple of things here. They do need to obviously rely on them beating St Kilda, which is not going to be an easy feat. You know, they do have to rely on the Dogs losing to Fremantle, and they also have to rely on the D's losing to Essendon. We'll get into those games in a second, but the Giants have, you know, shot themselves in the foot here. You know, they're putting themselves in a really bad place, and I said this a couple of weeks back on a stream that, like, whoever won that the GWS Giants and Demons game was probably going to make it, and although the Western Bulldogs are still above and they're in the hot seat right now, I still, you know, anyway, we'll get into that. But for me, this is a really difficult game to predict because St Kilda, they haven't looked anywhere near as good since they lost to Geelong. You know, they were looking red hot to start the season all the way through until they played Geelong and lost by 60 points. I think it was 59 points. You know, until that game, St Kilda actually looked pretty decent. And until that game, everyone's like, oh, they're actually attacking quite well. You know, they're getting up the field really well, and it's actually looking really nice here. But then they came up and they lost that game, and I feel like they've lost all their confidence. You know, none of their games have been convincing since. Maybe their 2-point loss to the Brisbane Lions was somewhat convincing, but in the same sense, that was still a loss. So it's like, are you really going to say that's are you really going to say that's convincing? Like, really? Like, I know they lost 2 points to a premiership contender, but You really going to say that one's convincing? Like, it's still a loss. So with St Kilda, they are playing for a top 6 spot, but it doesn't really matter because their home final will basically be the same home final that Collingwood will get, and they're probably going to have to face Collingwood in that first week knockout. GWS, on the other hand, obviously, like I said, they need to win to make the 8. So I'm going to... look, I really don't want to take the Giants here. I really don't want to take... you know what? I'm going to take St Kilda. Just until this video came out, just until I started filming this video, I was going to take the Giants. I was going to take the Giants because I just think that they've obviously got so much to play for, but they do need to rely on some other stuff. But you know, I'm going to take St Kilda. They need a win like this going into the finals to really get themselves back on track. And this is the last week for them to get themselves back on track, because they can't use the first week of finals as a way to get back on track because they're already nearly at the finish line. You know, you can't get back on track nearly at the finish line. So, you know, to get themselves back into the equation, they're going to need to win this game against the Giants. And obviously, the Giants have looked absolutely diabolical. Like, they really have. The Giants have just looked absolutely diabolical recently. And I tipped them to miss the 8 at the beginning of the year, but I didn't realise they'd actually be this bad. Like, they don't look good. They just don't look good. So I'm going to take St Kilda here. I'm going to take them by 14 points. I think it'll be a really close game. We are streaming this game on the channel, so, you know, get ready for that one. But I'll take St Kilda here tentatively. I think it's going to be an interesting game. It'll be an interesting game, but I am getting behind St Kilda. Saturday afternoon footy, we start off with a big one between Essendon and the Melbourne Demons. Now, it's not a big one for Essendon. They look shocking. Like, let's be honest with you. They look absolutely terrible. They look terrible. I tipped them to come 7th this year, and they have done so I don't even know how to explain Essendon this year. I really don't. Like, Essendon should have made the 8 with their list, but they just aren't. They had a chance. They did. They had a red-hot chance, but they've just fallen apart. They're just completely and utterly fallen off the planet, and they look terrible. Like, really, on their form right now, I'd say they're a bottom 4 team. They're not going to finish bottom 4, but they dead set look like a bottom 4 team. So it's like, for me, I have no idea what's happened at Essendon. They look a shambles right now, and they're going up against a D's team that are fighting to make the 8. They win this game, they'll be in the 8, obviously, for now, until obviously Sunday afternoon when Freo play the Bulldogs. But I think the D's are going to win this game. I'm going to take the D's here. I'm going to take the D's here by 26 points. I might even take them by 30. I'll take them by 30. I think the D's are just going to be a little bit better here. The D's haven't looked great lately, to be completely honest with you. They did obviously win that game against the Giants, but I don't think that I don't think Melbourne are anything special by any means. You know, I watched them against the Swans, and they looked absolutely atrocious there too. So they're going to make the 8, and they're going to get knocked out first week. But as long as if they do get into the 8, but you know, I'll take the D's here. I think they're good enough. I think they're better than Essendon. I feel like Essendon are in a shambles right now, and they need to really reconfigure what the hell is going on at that club until before next year. They need to fix something. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to do something. They need to do it now. I can't believe I'm saying this. This next game is quite difficult to predict. The Adelaide Crows and Richmond Tigers. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, well, wait, what? Wait, what? What are you talking about? Well, how are the Crows? How the Crows versus Richmond a difficult game? Of course, you know, Richmond's going to win that game, Blaze. Like, what are you talking about? And it's like, well, yeah, you'd safely assume as much, but then again, you've got to realise that, like, 4 weeks ago, the Crows hadn't won a game, and now they've won 3 in a row. They've won 3 in a damn well row. They haven't played anyone who's actually, like, a special team. You know, they've played, well, a couple of special teams, you know what I mean? But no, they haven't been anyone who's of real anyone note, and that's why I'm probably going to take Richmond here. But the Crows have had a lot better run of footy in the last couple of weeks, and they do look quite good. They do look like they're getting the ball up the field nicely. They're kicking goals. They're not looking absolutely, outstanding, but they're getting the job done, and they're trying to avoid the spoon right now. They have 1 game to win, just 1 game to win, because North Melbourne aren't winning their game against West Coast, I don't think. So they would need to just win this game to get over the line. They are at home as well, so it's a tight one because Richmond also have a lot to play for as well. They have the top 4 to play for, because if West Coast do beat North Melbourne, these 2 games really co-align with each other. So with West Coast beating North Melbourne, that means that Richmond also need to win now, and Crows win, they go above. So it really co-aligns with each other. But I think Richmond win this game. I'm going to take Richmond in a very close one. I'm going to take Richmond by 9 points. I'm going to take Richmond by 9 points. I actually couldn't even think 5 points. You know, this could be a really close game, and I still find Richmond win a really close game, or it could be an absolute blowout, and I could just read this completely wrong. But I'm going to take Richmond in a very close one. I think that they obviously don't really know how to kick straight. They should have beaten Geelong by a lot of points. Like, I'm a Geelong fan. You know, they really should have beaten us by a significant amount. And I feel like, because the win against Geelong, I feel like Richmond fans are really underrating the fact that they are missing a lot of goals. They really should be up by a lot more. Now, if they do sort that out, then they're going to win games by a lot. If they sort that out this week, they're going to win this game by about 60. They're going to win this game by about 70 because they have the attack and prowess to do that. But they need to get their kicking boots straight. They need to get their boots on. You know, what are they doing? They're kicking it, and it's like they had 15 behinds against Geelong. They had 15 behinds against Geelong. You know, they should have won that game by a lot more. They should have won that game by a lot more than that. We all saw how average Geelong have been. And we've all seen how average Geelong play against Richmond. So you really should have been expecting them to win by a lot more than they did. And if it wasn't for Tommy Hawkins making an inexperienced move there and taking the set shot real quick and not taking it back and then taking a goal and probably being within, I think it was like 12 points or something like that with a few minutes to go. You know, without that, Geelong could have even come back in that game. So Richmond need to sort out their kicking issues. That's the main issue with Richmond. The Crows will make it close because they need to make it close and they need to get a win, but they'll just fall up short in the end. This next game should be quite easy to dissect in comparison. We've got the Brisbane Lions going up against Carlton, and really, Carlton, they just didn't make it. They gave a valiant effort, but I feel like after that loss to Collingwood, they were done and dusted. Unfortunately for Carlton, they can't make the 8, and I think they had somewhat of a positive season. I feel like their ladder position doesn't exactly show how positive a season they've actually had in comparison to previously, but for Carlton, yeah, they're unfortunately just, they didn't make the 8, they're not going to make the 8, and they're not really playing for anything here except for pride. In comparison, the Brisbane Lions, obviously they look fantastic this year, provided Port Adelaide play Collingwood in the last game of the season on Monday. Now, if Port Adelaide were to lose that game to Collingwood and Brisbane Lions were to beat Carlton here, they would actually finish in first place, the Lions. So the Lions would get the minor premiership. So, you know, it'll be, I think Brisbane win this game, and I think the Brisbane win this game quite convincingly. I'm going to take Brisbane by about 34 points. Carlton, obviously, you know, they can put on a show when they want to put on a show, but I just don't feel like they have the need to put on a show right now. They don't really have the need to kind of do anything, and I feel like Brisbane are just too clinical there at the Gabba. It's just going to be a little bit of a bloodfest. It's going to be a little bit of a bloodbath here, and it actually could be bigger. It could be bigger. But then again, the thing is with Brisbane, they also don't know how to kick straight. They don't know how to kick straight as well sometimes. So I'll still have Brisbane. I'll take them by between 30 and 40 points. Alrighty, Hawthorn versus Gold Coast, eh? Wow, that's a fun one. Wow, that's a real fun one. I can tell you right now, I can guarantee you I'm not going to be watching that game. Hawthorn versus Gold Coast. Hawthorn have just looked shithouse this year. They just do not look great. They definitely need to completely restructure that entire team from the bottom up, and they're not in a good position right now. You know, they're just not in a good position right now. Gold Coast, on the other hand, they are looking promising. They do look a lot better. Obviously, they went down after that Matt Rowell injury, and that really threw their season out of whack. And I don't know if they would have necessarily made the 8, but they definitely would have been around that 8 position. No one can make it out of these two. Hawthorn, shithouse. Gold Coast, they're definitely looking better. I'm going to back them in for a win here. I'll back the Gold Coast Suns in for a win here. Get around the Gold Coast, baby. Get around the Gold Coast. But no, I'll take the Sunnies by, I'm going to take the Suns by about 35 points. I'll take the Suns by about 35 points. I don't rate Hawthorn. Don't think Hawthorn are great. Yeah, and they'll get done a little bit dirty here. Sunday afternoon, Sydney Swans going up against the Geelong Cats. Now, the Cats obviously coming off that loss against Richmond. That one hurt. Swans, you know, they come off that loss against the Lions and also that loss against Carlton, which was a shock one. You know, Carlton obviously came flying home from, 40 points behind, 39 point, 42 point, I don't know, something behind. They were behind by a lot of points. Come behind by a lot of points. So, and the Swans beat D's before that. You know, like, it's just, Swans are a bit weird right now. Swans are a little bit weird. Like, they haven't what it takes to win a game, but like they're not. It's not like they have. Like they do and they don't. Like they do and they don't. Swans are a really interesting team right now. They did only lose by not too big of a margin to Brisbane. You know, not an embarrassing scoreline. They got convincingly beaten, but not embarrassing. Not embarrassing, which is something the Swans can take in this, you know, this shit fest of a season. So, Geelong obviously they come into this game with that loss to Richmond, but Geelong win this game. I believe Gary Ablett's back too. I believe Gary Ablett is back as well. I think Geelong will be much better for it. I hate to say that whole, you know, they lost, so they're going to be better for it, but I feel like they will utilise that as a way to say, you know, we weren't exactly ready for this. I guess Richmond are that team that are going to beat us, and we need to make sure that we don't play Richmond in the finals. But no, I'll tell you, actually, funnily enough, I'll tell you this. A couple of years ago, Swans actually used to be our bogey team. This used to be the bogey team for the Swans. I remember losing to them in the preliminary final. Every time we lose, it's always these bogey damn well teams. But no, we're a much better team against the Swans nowadays. I'll take Geelong here to get back on track with a 40. I'll go 46-point win. The final game on Sunday, we have Fremantle going up against the Western Bulldogs. Now, this is an interesting game. I really don't know how to read this game. Fremantle have been looking really good recently. They're not playing for anything, but they're looking really good recently. They just flogged North Melbourne. They got 99 points, which really, that really infuriates me. They didn't hit that 100, but they got 99 points and beat North Melbourne by about 60 points, which isn't exactly, a massive feat, but it is still a 60-point win against a professional team. So you got to really appreciate that. On the other hand, obviously the Western Bulldogs, they're in the 8 right now. So I've already tipped the D's to win. So that means the D's are sitting above them right now on my live ladder. So the Dogs need to win to make the 8. Do I think they're going to make the 8? No, I don't actually think they're going to beat Fremantle. I'm actually going to take Fremantle here, which is a bit of a shock because obviously everyone's going to be like, the Dogs have got too much to play for. The Dogs are looking alright. I don't really think the Dogs are looking too good. I don't know how to read this Dogs team. One week they're doing fantastic and one week they look absolutely shithouse. There's no in between. There's no average. There's either really good or really shithouse. And Fremantle, I really don't mind this team. I really enjoy watching them play. Nat Fyfe brings just something completely different to that team and the leadership that he brings is just unreal. And I really think this Freo team will get a win this week. I think it's going to be the shock. There has to be a shock. There's always a shock when it comes to, the final game of the season where there's multiple teams that can make it in. So if we said the Dogs are going to win, the Giants are going to lose and, D's are going to win, it's pretty basic, that's basic shit. So as long as I'm going to take some kind of shock, I'm going to take this shock. I'm going to take Freo to win here. And they're at Kazali Stadium too, bit of a Kazali Stadium. So it's going to be a little bit of a different stadium to normal and I'm going to take the shock here. Let's get around Freo! The final game of the regular season, we have got Collingwood going up against Port Adelaide. Now, this is a decent game. This should be a decent game. Obviously, Collingwood are coming into this off the win against the Suns. Now, if they had lost to the Suns, then they would have been still in that fight for the top 8 and actually, arguably, would have been really looking likely to miss the 8. But then that would have made this game an incredible one because they would have needed to win against Port Adelaide. But on my live ladder, obviously, Port Adelaide are now second place because Brisbane Lions jumped into that first place with that win. So they need to win to get into first place again. Collingwood don't really have anything to play for besides positioning, but in reality, they're playing teams that are, if Western Bulldogs make it in, if St Kilda there, D's make it in, doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter to them because they're going to be in the exact same home ground that they probably would have had anyway. So I'm going to take Port Adelaide to win this one. I'm going to take Port Adelaide to jump back on top and win the minor premiership here. I think that Port Adelaide are a better team. I think they're inconsistent. I don't know if they're going to win the whole competition, but I do think that they're going to win this one. I think Charlie Dixon's going to be in for a good one. They've obviously got Dugowie back. They've got Adam Treloar. They've got all their stars, Collingwood, but I don't know about them this year. I tipped them to win the whole competition. I tipped them to win the whole competition before the year started, but they really haven't impressed at all this year. Besides that, probably that one win against Geelong, which was really their big talking point, and maybe that draw against Richmond, but that draw against Richmond was a shit house. So. Yeah, I'll take Port Adelaide win here. I'll take Port Adelaide win by 18 points. I think it'll be convincing, not like outrageous, not like a big win, but it'll be a convincing win. And Port Adelaide are going to win the minor premiership. So congratulations to Port Adelaide. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Please hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Obviously, subscribe if you're new around here, guys. We're going to be doing these every single week. We've got NRL, Premier League, NFL as well that we're going to be doing. I don't really think we're going to do baseball simply because obviously it's very difficult to predict when they've got like games every single day and there's like 7 games in a week and then there's 5 games. It's all over the place. So I'm not too sure how I do that. Obviously, I want to. Obviously, guys, we do a lot of live streams. So we're going to be doing, I think, 5 live streams for AFL this week. We've got 4 NRL games. We've got like 6 NFL games. It's outrageous. So definitely, like I said, subscribe if you're around here. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what your thoughts are. Obviously, we're all going to have different tips. We're all going to have different predictions. So, and this week has got a couple of, spicy, juicy games that could really go either way. So I could be completely wrong here. But, I think I've done a pretty alright job. So we'll obviously come back next week and we'll be doing our tips for the AFL Finals, which I'm very much looking forward to. But like I said, guys, that's going to do it for today. I appreciate you as always, and I'll see you guys next time. Alright, guys, thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.